Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David Darkangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Welcome back for another episode of Save As Ability. Today we're talking about accessible ride sharing. And when you think about it, think about what our devices have brought us. And I'm holding my cell phone up for people who are listening on Spotify or iTunes or, podcast, as opposed to the vlogcast here on YouTube. But Uber and Lyft and these rideshare services, the independence and the access to independence that they've been able to provide people with disabilities, it's impacted me as somebody who's legally blind and can't drive. Excuse me. So it's really been great for a lot of people with disabilities. Now, with that, though, there have been some challenges as well. We're going to talk a little bit about opportunities around accessible ride sharing today. And we celebrate the innovation that has turned smartphones into a set of car keys for many people. And these ride-sharing apps really do open up transportation options for a large amount of people with disabilities. So when everybody can just tap and request and a ride will arrive, no surprises, no extra fees, that's self-determination, all right? So let's talk a little bit about what accessible ride-sharing means. And really what it's defined as is a demand response service. So the ADA groups these app-based platforms like Uber and Lyft and taxis, all of these apps under what they call demand response transportation. Okay, that's how it's defined. Demand response transportation. So these services dispatch one ride at a time, and they've got to follow the ADA rules and regulations, just like shuttle buses or limos have to do. So what we're trying to do here is get an equivalent experience with these rideshare apps. So if the standard car is a sedan, the company must deliver a wheelchair accessible ride with comparable response time, fare, and coverage. And I'm using wheelchair as an example there because oftentimes that's one of the more challenging prevalence types to solve for because the physical vehicle needs to be different as opposed to somebody who's legally blind or another disability where they don't need a retrofitted vehicle, okay? So in either case, the goal is equal access. The goal, we don't want special treatment. We just want to be able to be, included and have equal access, equal opportunity to be able to, really open up transportation avenues that have traditionally been a barrier. So there's an axiom that's developed. Same trip, same time, same price. That's what people with disabilities are seeking as their non-disabled peers, okay? So what we're talking about here is there's these, I think of it as 4 pillars of accessible service. Number 1, timely pickup, okay? Wait an hour as opposed to somebody else who only has to wait 5 minutes. That's not equal service, okay? 20 minutes to 10 minutes, okay, fine. We understand it might take a little bit more time. That's more equal, okay? But it's got to be timely. It's got to be parity there. Fair parity. So no extra charges like, oh, you're in a wheelchair, I got to charge you double or triple, or you're legally blind, I got to charge you double. No, we want fair parity there. And when I mean fair parity, not FAIR, I mean FARE, as in you're paying the fare for the transportation, okay? No extra charges. Number 3, driver assistance. It is an obligation of these companies to ensure that the drivers they're using are trained and have some understanding of their obligations under these various laws, particularly the ADA. And then number 4, all we're asking is for courtesy, right? Not being treated differently. So however you are treating, all of your riders, well, people with disabilities are part of that. They're just another rider, okay? So you got to make sure that's part of the training piece as well, that respectful assistance is being provided, all right? Now, these pillars, they're more than just regulations, although the regulations kind of speak to them. This really is access to opportunity, Okay. Access for people to get to work, to get to school, to get to appointments. That's all we're looking for here as people with disabilities is parity. All right. So there's a couple of myths here, like we do here on Save Visibility. We like to bust myths and make sure that people are getting good information. So one of the myths that comes commonly that I'm advising people on is like that rideshare companies are, they're only a tech platform and they're only providing the app and service, and they're just linking the driver with the rider, right? Well, no, because courts and the Department of Justice and all types of different rulings that have come down indicates that if you set fares and dispatch rides, then you're a transportation provider. And if you're a transportation provider, then you have ADA responsibilities, just like fixed route services, just like taxis and limos and all of these other transportation services, okay? So that's myth number one. Myth number two is that accessible vehicles are optional in their add-ons and you can charge extra and things like that. Again, no. The Americans with Disabilities Act network, the ADA network, and the various agencies involved with putting together the regulations and they've done a good fact sheet here. And what they've done is they've looked at all the legal opinions, the regulations, and the ADA fact sheet indicates that if the fleet can't deliver an equivalent service, then then the provider must be able to arrange an accessible vehicle or improve capacity until parity is reached. Okay. Now I'm reading that pretty much right from the guide. So it's basically like you can't have an out like, oh, we're providing transportation to everybody, but we have no accessibility, so we can't provide it to people with disabilities. Like, no, that's, again, you have an obligation. Rideshare companies have the obligation to be able to meet the demand for these accessible features, okay? So the good thing is there's been progress here. And there's been a lot of collaboration with the rideshare companies, with the Department of Justice, with other various regulators on the state and federal level. For example, back in 2022, Uber agreed to a wait time agreement. And that basically says that now Uber waives wait time fees, because what was happening was they were charging extra or they were putting fees on top of the standard charges for people with disabilities, because they were saying, well, you have to wait longer for the thing, so we're going to charge you more for that. They collaborated with the DOJ and said, no, you can't do that. There's got to be parity there. The people with disabilities shouldn't have to wait more and pay more. Again, going back to the saying that is out there. So additionally, in 2020, Lyft, another one of the big rideshare companies, agreed to pay damages and strengthen driver education after riders using folding chairs were denied trips. So these were like portable wheelchairs, and they were being refused to be stowed, and you can't get in here with that. And some were with service animals, like you can't bring your service animal in the vehicle. No, they reached an agreement. They provided training, and now they know. So when these services first started, to their defense, they didn't really have any guidance. They didn't really know. They were linking all these riders, and then they discovered, wow, that with this, with people with disabilities, there's so many different instances of accommodations that need to be provided. Some of the baseline ones were easy to take care of, but the more sophisticated ones, it took time to be able to play out, get action in the courts and the regulators and all that. So the good news is we're trending towards more access, okay? And then, just when we get it, I'm sure we'll be starting autonomous vehicles, and that will be another disruption and everything else. But these are good things, because what it's showing is it's taking barriers down and it's providing more access, which is a good thing. It's a good thing for the companies. It's a good thing for people with disabilities. It's a good thing for America and society. So, the takeaway here is that constructive enforcement, appropriately done, it leads to better practice. And I think that's what we're developing now. Look, are there still challenges? Yes. But the bottom line is more people with disabilities have been given more access to more transportation options. That's a good thing, right? So that's what we're celebrating here. We're positive here at Save Visibility. more freedom for everybody. That's what we want. So it's a win-win when the company benefits, the user and the person with a disability benefits. That's what we're trying to get here. So whether it's wheelchair accessible vehicle access, whether it's training for being able to work with service animals and, being cognizant that other disabilities exist and you got to be accommodating of those, or, interacting with the app so that it's that large font and high contrast and it's got voiceover friendly screens. All of those types of things are getting better, and it involves training, it involves education. We're pleased to be part of that here at Save Visibility, and we hope this helped. If you want to learn more, please let us know. And, if for some reason, though, there is an issue and you do have a complaint, there is a way to do that, and that is you can call the ADA Information Transportation Helpline at 1-800-514-0301. And they can help guide you through the steps and the rights and obligations of both parties, both the rider and the rideshare company. So when a ride goes smoothly, share that, okay? Because these rideshare companies, they're trying their best for us. It's not always perfect, but again, we've increased access to opportunities and transportation barriers are coming down, which is a good thing. So challenges still exist and we'll work on those, but we're positive here. The impact is big. Millions of riders a year now have access to transportation that they might not have had, 10 years ago or whatever, before these rideshare apps existed. So that enables affordable travel options. And there's pilot programs all across the country, or even in place now, like in Massachusetts here where I'm at, some of the paratransit services being replaced by Uber and Lyft rides were appropriate for people with disabilities. So that's a good thing. That provides economic upside because you're able to get to work and, more jobs for the drivers and all that. So it's a good thing. It's a win-win when done well. That's what we're about here. So this isn't about anything other than access to opportunity. All right. Good thing for people with disabilities. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let us know down in the comments if we got something right or wrong, or you want to hear more on this subject. It's David D'Arcangelo. Hope you enjoyed this episode, another episode of Save Visibility, and I hope you have a great day. For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save As Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save As Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Again, my name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.